Hello everybody, I hope you are having an amazing day today. This is Miss Q, and today we are going to read an amazing story about jellyfish. Before we begin, I want to go through some of the words that you might see as we read our story. So the first set of words that you might see is millions. You might see the word millions as we read. Now millions, it says it looks like this shark has millions of teeth, but it really only has a few dozen. So that tells me that millions is a number, and it's a really, really big number. Then we will also see the word choices. Choices is the visitors at the aquarium have many choices of things to see. So that means when these visitors go to the aquarium, there's so many different things to see, and they get to decide what it is they're going to look at. They make a choice when they decide. The next word you are going to see as we read is the word drift. This clever otter will not drift or float away. So he is in control, which means he's not just kind of drifting off. When you drift, you're floating, you have no control over where you're going. The water is taking you away. This otter, however, he is not going to drift away. He has control of what he's doing. The next word you may see is the word weaker. One of these crab claws is weaker than the other. It is not very strong. So the word weaker means it's not as strong as the other claws around it. That's what it means. You will also see the word disgusting. Yuck! The litter around the trash can smells disgusting. So disgusting means it's really not pleasant. It's yucky. Okay, then you might also see the word simple. Dolphins make jumping out of the ocean look simple and easy. So this part right here tells us what the word simple means. It basically means it's easy. You will also find the word wrapped. The octopus wrapped its strong tentacles around its prey. So if we look at the picture, we see the octopus has its tentacles around its prey. That means it's wrapped around it. Then you have the word decide. You might see this word in our story. Decide. Is this a starfish or a crab? You decide. So that means you think about it and you say if it's a starfish or a crab. You could be right, you could be wrong, but you decide. So then we're going to turn the page and we're going to start our story on page 336. Now, our title of our story is Jellies, the Life of a Jellyfish. Now, this story was written by Twig C. George. Now, Twig C. George, let's read a little bit about her. Twig C. George's love of nature began while she was growing up around her mom, writer Jean Craighead George. The George household had many unusual pets, including tarantulas, seagulls, crows, and a screech owl. that liked to take showers. Isn't that silly? Twig George raises her own children around nature too. So she had an owl that liked to take showers. Have you ever seen an owl take showers before? So what we're going to do is we are going to read this story. This story is what is called an informational text. It is a non-fiction writing that tells facts about a topic. We usually read informational text to learn more facts about real things. Jellies is about the different kinds of jellyfish in the ocean. I know that jellyfish are real, so I think this selection is an informational text. And I know because of the title that I am going to learn facts about jellyfish. What do you think as we're reading? I want you to think about this question. What is special about animals that live in the ocean? Just think as we read. What's so special about these animals? Okay. If you were a jellyfish, you would have two choices, to go up or to go down. That's it. 2, you would not have a brain, so you could not decide what to have for breakfast or where to go for lunch. So in this is a picture of a mangrove jellyfish. An unnamed jellyfish. The ocean currents would carry you along from place to place. In this way, you could travel hundreds of miles. Food might pass by you and get caught in your tentacles. So, what is strange about jellyfish and how they move around? What is strange about how these jellyfish move around? Just look for a second and think. And I think that they can only move up and down. That's what's strange about them. They can't decide to move from side to side on their own. They can just go up and then down. But they can't do anything else. What else have you learned about jellyfish so far? So think for a second. What did you learn about jellyfish on this page? I know I learned they don't have brains. It would be sad not to have a brain. What does this information help you understand about jellyfish? Well, without brains, jellyfish can't think like we can, and they can't decide what they're going to do next. And they can't even decide what they're going to eat. So we already know that jellyfish can't move from side to side on their own based on the picture and the text on this page. How do you think jellyfish get from one part of the ocean to another part of the ocean? Well, I know that the ocean currents carry them around. The jellyfish go where the ocean currents take them. So they're just going wherever the currents are going to take them. Okay, let's look at the next page. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Sea turtles, dolphins, and whale sharks would try to eat you. You wouldn't worry about it because you couldn't. You would just float on. So they're describing what it would be like if you were the jellyfish. This is a rhizostone jellyfish. Isn't that pretty? But so a jellyfish can't worry. Here's a comb jellyfish. You would protect yourself with millions of tiny mechanical cells that, when touched by another animal, release a chemical and sting like a bow and arrow. You would not know if you were stinging a friend or an enemy. You would not even know what a friend or enemy was. So, why does the author want you to imagine you are in a jellyfish? I think she wants to help you as the reader really think about life, the life of a jellyfish. What language does she use to help you imagine this? Well, she uses the word you when she describes what the jellyfish do. So by using the word you, she makes you think about what it would be like if you were that jellyfish. How can you use the text on page 341 to figure out the meaning of the word mechanical? So right here it says, you would protect yourself with millions of tiny mechanical cells that, when touched by another animal, release a chemical and sting. The text around those words, mechanical cells, tells me that this is something that happens without the jellyfish making it happen. So the jellyfish have no control over it. How can you use the text on page 341 to figure out the meaning of the word chemical? So there's another complicated word, chemical. Well, I look at the word. It says when it stings, it makes me chemical fish use animals. So when he stings, it's something that the jellyfish use to hurt animals. So let's go to the next page. Jellyfish sting for protection and to catch food. That's all. They don't, and they just bump and sting, bump and sting. Little fish in and out of the dome of this moon jellyfish. So this is a jellyfish right here, even though it's hard to see it. And you see all these little fishies around there? They're in a jellyfish. It's interesting. Some jellyfish sting gently. Some jellyfish have a sting so powerful that they are more dangerous than a cobra. These are the Australian box jellies. So here's what they call an Australian box jellyfish. What is the main topic of the paragraphs on page 342 to 343? So this is 342. This is page 343. And I see that one of the things that it's talking about is why the jellyfish on both pages like to sting. So how do we know it's the main topic? All the sentences on both of these pages are about how jellyfish sting for protection and how some sting gently and others have a powerful sting. Simple jellyfish. Jellyfish are so simple that they look like plastic. Trash floating in the sea. When an animal eats a jellyfish, it stays healthy and strong. When an animal eats plastic, it gets weaker and weaker and eventually dies. That's really sad. Some jellyfish lie on the shallow bottom in clear, warm seas and grow their own food. These are called upside-down jellyfish. Once they have eaten small bits of algae, just once, they can grow more inside their bodies by sitting in the sun. There are their own greenhouses and grocery stores all wrapped up in one. So these are the upside-down jellyfish. In what ways are upside-down jellyfish like greenhouses and grocery stores? Why did they say that? It's because they use sunlight to grow plants, and that's what a greenhouse will do. Like a greenhouse. And they are full of food, like a grocery store might be. So that's how they're like a grocery store and a greenhouse. Now we're going to read about the Portuguese of war. To be a jellyfish, you need to be shaped like a bell, with at least one mouth and tentacles. Many animals called jellyfish are really something else. The Portuguese man of war is not a real jellyfish. It has an air-filled bubble instead of a water-filled bell. Jellyfish are almost all water and a little protein. They look slimy and disgusting when they wash up on the beach. So, how does the picture on page 346 help explain why a Portuguese man of war is not a jellyfish? Well, I look and I see that the picture shows that the Portuguese man of war has an air-filled bubbles up there. And they're not a water-filled bell. So that is different from a jellyfish. The author calls jellyfish that wash up on the beach disgusting. What other words can you think of that mean the same thing as disgusting? Well, when I think about it for a second, I can think of words like gross or yucky or horrible or sickening. Those all have similar meanings. Why might the author feel that jellyfish are disgusting when they are washed up on the beach? So he made it that way. Jellyfish are beautiful right in water, but they look slimy on the sand, and they told us about that. They look slimy, and apparently the author thinks slimy is somewhat disgusting. So, let's move on. Now we're going to look at the West Coast sea nettle. In the sea, jellyfish are beautiful. There are jellyfish as big as basketballs with long red tentacles called West Coast sea nettles. There are tiny elephant jellyfish that look like a blizzard of snowflakes. So this is an Ocopilera labradorensis. So on this page, the author compares jellyfish to something else. What does she compare them to? I see that over here she is comparing them to basketballs. How does the comparison help you imagine the West Coast sea nettles? Well, I can tell you in terms of this jellyfish, it helps me imagine how big they are because I know how big a basketball is. So that gives you a good comparison, right? Now the author is comparing jellyfish to something else. How does this new information help you understand jellyfish? So we look over here. Here he compared it to this jellyfish to a basketball. Here she's comparing it to this jellyfish to a blizzard of snowflakes. So the author says that some jellyfish look like a blizzard of snowflakes. So this helps me picture them to be beautiful and blurry like falling snow. So, what opinions does the author give about jellyfish? Think about that for a second. How support those opinions? Well, maybe she says I see that she says jellyfish are beautiful. That's an opinion. She might see them as beautiful, but somebody else who's looking at that might not think it's beautiful. So that is an opinion. Okay? But then she describes the jellyfish. And in this, she tells us they're like snowflakes. So, and they're tiny. And in here, she tells us about their red tentacles. So maybe she thinks those red tentacles are beautiful. She supports the fact that she thinks they're beautiful by describing them and comparing them to something else that she might see as beautiful. Now, we have the Arctic lion's mane jellyfish. There are jellyfish that grow so big that they are as long as a blue whale. They are called Arctic lion's mane jellyfish. They pulse and drift. They eat and produce. They live and die, all without a brain or a heart. So, why do you think a jellyfish just drifts along? Maybe it's because it does not have a brain, so it cannot control where it goes. What details does the author use to tell about the size of the Arctic lion's mane jellyfish? Well, I see that she is comparing it. She compares the length of the jellyfish to a blue whale. So if you've ever seen a blue whale, you would know how the length of the jellyfish. Okay, so now we're going to read about the golden Mastigia's jellyfish. Someday you might be very lucky and see an ocean full of jellyfish, and since you have a brain and a heart, you would know you were seeing something unforgettable. So what do you think the author's purpose is for writing Jellies? Anybody have any ideas? I think the author wanted to teach people about jellyfish and to let people know that she thinks jellyfish are beautiful and amazing. I know because she gave facts about jellyfish to teach about them. She also gave her opinion of them so people know how she feels about them. So maybe that's why. And that is our story for today. Thank you for joining me and have a wonderful rest of the day. Good night.